Welcome to the Cyclical Doula podcast. I'm Emma, a certified Sympto-Pro instructor, a fertility awareness educator, and your guide to fertility coaching and reproductive health education from menarche to menopause and all the different types of motherhood in between. If you're seeking a natural, science-backed approach to managing your fertility, understanding your cycle, or simply connecting with your body in a new way, you're in the right place. Each episode is designed to empower you with the tools, knowledge, and confidence you need to thrive in your unique journey. Quick disclaimer, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice or individualized charting support. For specific guidance, please consult with your healthcare provider or fertility awareness instructor. Now, let's dive into today's topic.
Welcome to the space where cycles breathe, where the real raw life of a mama leads. From motherhood's highs to charting the low, your body's story is the star of the show. Matriarch heart.
Hello, and welcome back to the Cyclical Doula podcast. I'm so excited to have our guest talk all about parenting. So would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit about who you are?
Yeah. My name's Mitra Cummins, and I began my journey working with parents way back when. It's been way over a decade. And over time, I worked with kids specifically doing social emotional learning, executive functioning skills, and all this type of development with kids. And over time, many parents were saying, my kids are doing great. I need support. And my husband and I were doing this together, Dr. Chase Cummins. And throughout our journey working with kids, we noticed that, okay, it's time to really focus on working with parents. Let's see what parents are really wanting. And as we were going down the rabbit hole and then COVID hit, we said, okay, it's really time to start working with parents. And now we work with parents. When we work with parents, we work with neurodiverse families, we work with postpartum, we work with new parents or people experiencing pregnancy. And overall, we're just working with overwhelmed parents that are wanting to dive into their nervous system and go, okay, let me regulate myself. I need to work on communicating with intention because my communication's whack and stop that survival mode that can come up, especially in new parenting, postpartum, and neurodiverse families, and then everything in between. And really just enjoy family, enjoy themselves and their family and their purpose within that. And that's where we
I
are.
love that. That's so amazing. I am so excited to talk to you. I feel like this is like one of my favorite topics to bring up about parenting in general. I have not yet worked with you specifically, but I feel like in the realm of this, just conversations around this is just absolutely amazing. So I'm so excited to talk today. What else do you want to share, if anything, about like who you are outside of your work?
Well, I am a mom of two.
Yeah.
Currently, it's December, and I'm 4 months postpartum with my second. And so I'm in the journey with families and going
Yep.
through the motions. Our oldest is 2. So other than my role of mom, wife, coach, and entrepreneur, one of my biggest roles and values in life is passion. I live and breathe through passion and love. So if I'm moving forward in any way that's bringing up my passion, purpose, anything that's bringing up love, that's my drive. That's my driving force. That's how I move forward in life. And that came through my whole personal growth journey that I'm sure I'll be sharing layers
Yeah.
on throughout this podcast. But I have passion and love are my top 2 values when it comes to life. And that's what I live by.
That's amazing. I love that. It sounds so cool. Okay. Also your age gap of your kids sounds about very similar to mine. Mine are now 4 and 6, but they were about that same, what is it, like 18, 19 months apart?
Just about. We
Yeah.
we were gonna have 22 months, and then he came early, so we were like
Yeah.
21 months
Nice.
apart. We're like,
21.
okay.
Yeah. Nice. That's amazing. What is one like rhythm or ritual that you always come back to as an individual or a parent?
Something I started when I was working with kids was something you're grateful for at the end of every
Mm,
day, just
yes.
to exude what happened throughout the day, because sometimes there are up days, there are down days, highs and lows. And something that I keep going back to within our family is the gratitude. What can we be
Yeah.
grateful for ourselves? With our 2-year-old, we start talking about this already, and she kind of looks at
Mhm.
us and we're like, well, what makes your heart happy today? Like, what made you feel
Ooh, I like
good?
it that way.
Um, that's the easiest way I could explain gratitude to a 2-year-old.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to describe it. I love it.
How would you describe it to your kids,
You
gratitude?
know, you just said that, and I was like, so we growing up in my family, every every time we had dinner, like a value in my family of origin was eating dinner together, and so during that time, we'd say a prayer and then we'd go around the table and say something that we were thankful for. And so we've brought that into my husband and I have brought that into our family. And so our kids have kind of just like always been like, what are you thankful for? And they just like kind of say something. But I realized as you were saying this, I'm not sure I've ever like really explained it to them fully. That I like the way of like it makes your heart happy. I love that. I think that's really good. I might have to ask them if they know what it means now.
And that's the big thing. Most of the time, kids won't know until
Yeah.
we kind of explain it to them. Like,
Yeah.
the other day, one of my family members was telling my daughter to apologize for something, and I was like, "She's 2, she doesn't know what sorry means. It's not
Yeah.
a word that has a lot of depth to it."
No.
But we do talk about empathy and forgiveness and things like that. But she doesn't know what it means. So I told
Right.
my husband, he and I are on agreement on this, that all we can do is model it and
Yep.
explain it to her and have conversations, but we're not like, "Hey, say sorry," because we know,
Yeah.
first off, she doesn't even know what it means, so why even say it? So same
Mhm.
thing with gratitude, it's as a part of
Yeah.
our ritual and our as a family, what we do at home as well is having that, so explaining it is
Yeah.
really helpful and beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. It's good. I really tomorrow I'm gonna be like, "What do you have any idea what we do?" It's great.
Do you know what it means now that we've
Yeah.
done it? 'Cause with enough examples, they might actually know what it does
Yeah,
and
they
what it means
might.
now,
But I
especially that age.
sometimes every once in a while, they're like, "I have no idea." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, like, well, like, something you did today or something." But I'm like and now I'm realizing, like, maybe they really don't understand fully, which is funny, but great. Well, do you wanna tell us a little bit more about, like, how you got into this or your own experience, however you wanna tell more of, like, your story coming to this point of your work?
Yeah, yeah. I very much my husband and I both denied working with kids our entire life. I would like, our
That
entire
worked out real well
childhood.
for you.
It did. All of a sudden, we just have so many people go, "You were great with kids. Why don't you work with them?" "No, not for us. It's not for
Yeah,
us." And this was when we weren't even together and didn't know each other, but
yeah,
very parallel in that we just kept finding ourselves working with kids.
yeah.
I found myself when I was 15, I became a lifeguard and a swim instructor. And through swim instructing and lifeguarding, I just kept working with kids. And then I'd tutor and I'd start babysitting. And I went down a rabbit hole in college working in after school programs. And then
Mhm,
that's where I found the social emotional learning coaching and behavioral development world and doing executive functioning coaching with neurodiverse kids. A lot of the kids had ADHD or autism or were in some type of mood disorder experience of anxiety or so on and so forth. So I worked mostly in the group dynamics, and my
mhm,
husband Chase works and is really thrives in the one-on-one dynamics. But we both intertwined with one another, where I was doing one-on-ones and he was doing groups as well, and it was just a fun duo for us. And over time, it was like, okay, this is our purpose. And part of my journey, there was a point in my personal growth where I felt really conflicted internally. And
mhm,
I went down a spiritual path within finding what my purpose is. And I got to the point in my journey where I experienced what we call a breakthrough session. A breakthrough session is basically just a step-by-step process that someone takes you through. So myself and Chaser both trained in it. And during that journey, you really dive into what are the depths of what's coming up for you in this area of life. So we do a lot of family work. So in the area of family, what is that depth? For me, it was in spirituality. Like what's in my spirit, what's in my purpose that is creating this internal conflict within me, because that's what's showing up. That's what I saw in my life was that conflict. It was showing up within my work. It was showing up within my family, my relationship. And family initially for me at that time was my blood family, the family that I was birthed from. And it came to the point where during my breakthrough, during my personal growth, I actually have known my purpose all along. I was just so conflicted with aligning with that because I felt like it was put on me versus my decision. And that's when
Mm.
it felt very freeing to go, okay, I'm going to experience a totally different shift. I'm going to totally release everything that I feel conflicted about, all the negative emotions, the limiting beliefs that I chose for myself to learn from. And once I did and I became free of that baggage, I went, okay, I know exactly what my purpose is and I know exactly how I'm going to align with that. And everything I do comes from that now. So my purpose in life is to be the light in family. That's not only in my own family, that is in every family that I'm connected to, whether that's family I'm working with or a friend that has like they're connected to family in
Yeah.
any way that I can. Family is a huge component of my life and being of light within that. And my name Mitra actually does mean goddess of sun. And
Right.
within that, that exudes light as well. So I was literally
Yeah.
birthed into this experience and it was my choice and I own it and I'm excited about it now. And that's part of my passion. But that journey definitely became very conflicted for a while there of like, what am
Yeah.
I doing and why am I choosing this? And
Mhm.
questioning it isn't actually empowering. It's going, this is my path and this is how I decide I want to move forward. That choice that can be made
That's
is freeing.
awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like coming into any space with, like, making that choice is obviously gonna be absolutely amazing, but thanks so much for sharing more about you and coming into there. That's awesome. I love that. Um, what specifically is there, like I'm sure we could talk about, like, so many different aspects of what your work does and how you work with parents. But is there one thing that consistently, like, comes up for you when you're working with parents that you see on a regular basis?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
a lot A lot of the conflicts are very personalized,
Right,
but I always
obviously.
look at what's the overarching theme, and there can be a lot of themes that come up around being of survival mode. Uh, I mean, I've been there. We all go
Yeah.
through that cycle in parenting, especially through newborn stage, especially through
Mhm.
various stages. I actually heard a podcast recently say, and I wish I remembered who said this, so please forgive me. I'm not able to quote the person, but they said that. Oh no, it was a book in Raising Good Humans. The book Raising Good Humans. They quoted that parenting is always going to be hard at every stage. And that really hit home for me, especially in my own postpartum journey, that I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's always going to be hard. It's what's the mentality you're holding and onto?
Mhm.
How are you able to move forward from that space of survival? Are
Yeah.
you allowing it to limit yourself? So when I was 4 months postpartum with my daughter, who's 2 now, I remember feeling that I am surviving and I'm surviving. And I kept identifying with it versus going,
Mhm.
this is just my season of survival right now. And there's a difference from the energy perspective. There's a difference in my mentality and how I was emotionally experiencing that. And then my physical body too. So when I felt like I was embodying it, I felt really depleted when I kept saying,
Mhm.
I'm just surviving. I'm just surviving. I'm surviving. I'm a survivor right now. That beingness of holding on to it became disempowering
Mhm.
when I shifted from a mentality of that was my mode, that was my season, that was just the journey I was on for that moment, like what I'm experiencing right now with my son.
Yeah.
I'm it's just my season right now. It's just where I'm at. I Although I'm very sleep deprived, although I'm going through my own journey in postpartum, it isn't encompassing my livelihood of my beingness, and I think that's a huge conflict that can come up within parents of overwhelm, is it becomes an identity versus
Yeah.
a feeling. Feelings only last 90 seconds at its
Mhm.
truest form. So if a feeling is lasting longer than 90 seconds, you either A, haven't processed the emotion in the moment successfully, or B, you have baggage. And
Mhm.
when you have baggage, that longevity of the emotion can be weighing down. And you have baggage when you have past experiences continuing to come up over and over again of a here we go again. Or you just notice yourself getting overcharged within an emotional state. So if it's sometimes there's warranted, I mean, we're always going to experience emotions. There's warranted emotions, especially the first time, first experiences. But when it's like, when I noticed like
Mhm.
a volcano has mini eruptions all the time. It's like mini earthquakes, but it'll start erupting when there aren't any earthquakes, when it's a big eruption. And those big eruptions, those are the ones that you go, okay, that there's something else that's been piling up over time. That's baggage for
Right.
you.
Yeah. That makes sense, obviously. That's good. I think, like, obviously, I think a lot of people are in that state of, like, survival mode because we don't know what else to do, and I feel like it's not talked about enough on the regular in our society of, like, that doesn't need to be the case, that we can be in a different mindset and we can, like, regulate in different ways and all of those things.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it's not even just going in from a space of sometimes you can change the experience
mm,
you're in. Like
mhm.
if your child is colicky, then that's just how
Yeah.
it's gonna be, and you may have to sit with them and or rock them and do that experience, and you may be in survival in that moment, but that's a moment, or that's
Mhm.
the few weeks or the month that they're experiencing that. That's not gonna be their whole life, and I think that that moment can feel so depleting
For
and
sure.
when it comes to going, okay, that's going to be a moment, having someone to bounce that kind of information off of it, going,
Mhm.
this is where you are now, but that's not where you're going to be tomorrow. And that's not where you're going to be
Yeah.
next week or next month or even next year. Your kid isn't going to be in that colic space or in whatever
Mhm.
journey in your postpartum or journey in your pregnancy because so be it. You're gonna have the phase that you're going through and
Absolutely.
like, why am I in this right now?
There's some
Eh,
there's some good ones throughout
oh yeah,
parenthood, I feel like, and I'm only a little bit in. I feel like, teenagers are gonna be a whole 'nother experience in a different way.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
developmentally right now, especially both of us, we're in this. I am teaching these boundaries. I am
Right.
teaching like connectiveness, how
Right.
to process emotions, emotional intelligence. But then once they get closer to the adolescent stage, you're in a totally different space.
For
I'm
sure.
actually been coaching a family on transitioning from that, like, okay, teaching them the boundaries to letting go of the reins and letting them build independence because that is a huge transition as a parent and
Mhm.
um, it can feel really daunting to loosen
Yeah.
the reins for your kids and go, okay, this is their time to shine. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that, but it's a matter of what's going to be in the best and highest for the family and for the kids as well. And what is within their skill set already. Do they have the skills to do it? And that's
Yeah.
a big piece of everything when you come to scaffolding skills is do they
For
already
sure.
have the skills to do it or do you need to keep supporting them, holding their hand or observing from the sides?
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, because that kinda, like, intrigues me in, like, the current situation that I'm in, because 'cause we're getting, like, closer to that spot. So, what can you give me an example of what that looks like about, like, figuring out how to scaffold? I mean, obviously, it's, like, so specific on the kid, so maybe you can make up a
Right.
example of a kid.
So, I mean, scaffolding really just looks like, okay, are they interested in the skill? And if they're
Yeah,
not, how can I make them interested in it?
right.
Because there's always ways to gamify things and make it fun
Yeah,
for kids. So those are the things I think about is are they already ready for the skill? And if they are, then what are some ways I can gamify it? And the other side of it is, do I even have the skill set inside of myself?
yeah, yeah.
So when I first started learning about the brain, the subconscious mind, I was like, I didn't have the skill set to talk about it. And I had so
Mhm.
many people teaching me in different ways so that I could learn it and go, okay, now I feel adequate to teach others about it. But in the
Yeah,
beginning, I was like, I'm still learning. Teach me how you teach it.
right.
And so that's me absorbing the information, gathering it for myself. And then just like mindfulness is a practice. And I would
Right.
say parenting is a practice too.
For
You
sure.
are going to continue to scaffold information for yourself. You're not going to need all the information. Like right now, I don't need to know how to get my kids to college yet. All I need to know is diapers and,
Right.
you know, going through the process of diapers and potty training, like, that's the journey we're on right now.
Yeah.
And so just knowing wherever you are in your journey, like, what's the skill set next for your family or for your
Mhm.
child, your individual child, and then know if you have 2 kids, they're each gonna be on different platforms. You're not gonna be teaching the same
Yeah.
skills to both, but you might scaffold, like, okay, this information about the brain and scaffolding with it when it comes to brain lessons, because brain lessons are just important overall for emotional intelligence and just knowing how their brain works, you can still scaffold it. Like, I love the Mind Up curriculum
Okay.
by Goldie Hawn. And the curriculum, they have it from as young as kindergarten to, I believe they have it up to high school. It might just be middle school, but they
Okay.
have different ways of talking about it based off of the grade that they're in or the age range that they're in. So there's always ways to scaffold the information, but gamifying it and finding out the information for yourself. And then if you're noticing blockages within yourself, or maybe you don't have a coach or someone that can uh, advise or give information, then figuring out within you, okay, is there anything that you want to know or need as the parent to help provide that information for your family
Yeah.
and move forward in that way?
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I've noticed that my husband and I both have education backgrounds and like we've done some of this work and so like we're used to that like scaffolding thing, that aspect of like in regards to teaching them skills of all of these things, and then it comes up when there's something that we're like, "Ooh, we forgot to, like, bridge the gap of all of these things that we're like, ooh, we missed that one with the with the second kid maybe sometimes," and it's like,
Right.
"How let's go back through and redo it," and then it's also really interesting when you're around other kids too, how and not putting any blame on other parenting or anything like that, but just like, oh, you can see how some kids are scaffolded differently with skills and
Mhm.
therefore like that's a either a value in their family or something that they're working on and how that can help them just kind of go through, but it's same thing with us as parents, right? Like you can just kind of see how like how we have these tools to help in all different ways based on our knowledge base.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point that I think about often, and my husband's attachment therapy professor, because so my husband is a clinical psychologist,
Okay.
so he does work with private clients in therapy as well, but also in coaching. And with his attachment theory professor, when he was going through his doctorate, the professor said an amazing quote about how you never know what you're doing is the right thing until you do it, and then you get the feedback from it from your
Yeah.
kids. So it's like you didn't know that you didn't scaffold that right. You got the
Right.
feedback and then you adjust it, and that's the thing with parenting. It's always a feedback loop, and
For sure.
as long as you keep that loop going, then you gain the information, you keep learning from it, then you're doing great.
Yeah, right.
You're
It's
doing a great
amazing.
job.
It's amazing what, like, kids can pick up on too, and I like, obviously, we can talk so much about behavior and emotional intelligence and all of those things, but it continually surprises me. I am the primary parent with our kids, like, I'm usually around with most of the stuff, and when they were little, like, I was trying to like, slowly teach them how to put on their clothes, and
Yeah.
there was a few days that my husband, like, was helping them put on their clothes, and for some reason, he taught both of them in different times how to put their shirts on, and they, like it was a night and day difference, and I'm like, "I don't know what he said to them that was so much of a difference," but, like, it's helpful to remember that with, like, all of these things, like, sometimes we all just need to hear it in, like, a slightly different way for us to, like, click and
Yeah.
to get this information in
Yeah.
regards to everything. I know that's such, like, a very specific,
Well, you
um
brought up a good dynamic of both parents
Yeah.
too. So, there are families that are single parenting,
Oh,
and
for
how
sure.
can you create that opportunity, especially when there's depletion that can come up as a single
Mm,
parent? So much
mhm.
overwhelm. My mom raised my sister and I
Yeah,
as a single mom, and we did have our father around, but she was a single mom fully
yeah.
my entire life. And she created her village. She created her family of friends. Like, we didn't have close family near us.
Yeah,
We had a lot of family friends that I saw as, like, aunts and uncles and people that we
for
looked up
sure.
to and go to still. And
Mhm.
throughout that kind of dynamic, you brought up a good piece of learning is when a kid isn't getting it from you, then they're gonna get it from someone else
For
somehow,
sure. Mhm.
whether it's an adult that they
Yep.
trust or as they get older, peers are gonna
Yep.
teach them things, and
Mhm.
where do you want them to hear the information?
Yeah.
Where do you wanna
Absolutely.
have those conversations? So even starting at
Yeah.
a young age, like my daughter, when she asks me questions, I do my best to answer. I know the answer to that, and I'll explain it to her. When I'm like, I don't know the answer to it, I tell her, I don't know the answer to that. Let's actually look into it together. Let's investigate and find this information together, just so that she can trust me in finding that conversation. And she learned so much from my husband. And I know for a big piece for many new parents especially and moms especially is letting go of the reins so that the partner or other caregiver can learn how to do it themselves,
For
especially
sure.
when they're newborn stage and they're crying and the mom's like, well, I'm breastfeeding, or I know how to give the bottle the way they like it, and I know how to soothe them the way they like it, but they have to also learn parent, the other caregiver has to also learn how to do it for themselves with the child. It creates that
Mhm.
safety and attachment, a safe attachment theory within that dynamic too. So giving
Yeah.
them that opportunity so that they can learn, when they're 6 and 4, they can start learning
Yeah.
things and feel safe to learn from them
For
and
sure.
create that dynamic from an early age. And it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be in the first month, but just over time as you're evolving in the journeys.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good thing to keep reminding ourselves. I think especially as moms, like there's a lot of either like just like societal conversation around that or just like this instinct of like feeling the need to do some of the stuff all on our own and that there's so
Mhm.
much power in being able to let other people learn and help too and do that.
Absolutely.
Um I think we as generally as a society, at least like my generation and above, we've not really been taught how to um like be emotionally intelligent, right? Like we're not like that's not a conversation. It's starting to happen more and more in schools about like this is just the conversation. I think it's partially just because there's been more research about it that it's
Yeah.
being a primary thing. But how do we as parents or how do you work with parents on like even starting to bring this up? Obviously like these people are coming to you, so they probably have a little bit of an understanding or a need that they're trying to fill.
Right.
But what do you like to start with?
I look at, well, what are the conflicts that are coming up
Yeah.
internally?
Mhm.
And where is it showing up? So, in the school I learned from, Empowerment Inc. is the company, and they teach neurolinguistic programming. They teach mental emotional release techniques. They teach energy work called Puna, which is ancient Hawaiian energy work, and hypnosis. So I've learned from
Okay.
them, and I actually worked with them for a while as well in
Cool.
their trainings. So within this dynamic, one concept that they talk about is the four bodies, and it's the four bodies that encompass us. There's your spiritual body. Another way to think about that is your energetic body, your energy.
Okay.
There's your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body. So the physical body is what you see. We have our emotional body, mental body, and spiritual or energetic body.
Yeah.
And when it comes to emotions, beliefs, when it comes to things that are happening in internal conflicts, it can show up in many areas of your life, but they
For
can
sure.
also show up in your four bodies in many different ways. And when it comes to regulation, I look at which body is the most affected. So there was a time when I was first in my personal growth journey, I was in the hospital for 3 days with I don't know what was going on at all. We got a plethora of tests, but my physical symptoms were a spinal cord, like I was having inflammation all up and down my spinal cord to the point where I couldn't walk. I was getting migraines, and it came out of nowhere. Like I have no
Mhm.
idea how it happened and where it came from because they kept asking me, "Have you traveled to Hawaii during this time?" I'm like, "No, it's been like a year and a half or so at that point, or
Yeah.
yeah, just about that time." And I was like, I don't know where this is coming from and what's going on,
Mhm.
but something is coming up. And 2 years later, I still was in this perpetuating physical body of just conflict coming up. There was just so much
Yeah.
happening. So that was back in 2015. And then in 2017, I went to the Empowerment Partnership, or Empowerment Inc. now, but they were Empowerment Partnership at the time, and started going through their personal growth trainings. And what I found out about myself was the baggage that was coming up, that was showing up in my physical body, wasn't just a physical body problem. I was
Mm.
having things coming up from my energy. I was having mental, like, beliefs that were coming up about myself,
Yeah.
and I was having a lot of negative emotions as well.
Mhm.
And those beliefs are what perpetuated the chronic aspect. And at the time, it became chronic. It went from a moment out of nowhere that it came up to 2 years later. So it became chronic at that time. And I'm grateful I was able to work through it mental emotionally because I was doing all the physical things. I was going to physical therapy. I was working out as best as I can to help work through this. I was doing chiropractic, acupuncture. I was doing all the things and nothing
Yeah.
was working. So once I looked at the other four bodies and went, okay, let me go through a breakthrough. What I've already
Mhm.
explained is that it just clears out all the baggage, the limiting beliefs, and in that area of life. For me, the first one was physical health. And that cleared up so much. So now I don't have that spinal cord experience. I
Wow.
don't get headaches. When I do, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, am I sore or is there something I'm not paying attention to? Like I can feel the difference, low back. Like my postpartum journeys were very different due to various different reasons between my pregnancy journey and my birth experience and now how I take care of my body postpartum, both very different between both pregnancies.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm so grateful I have this looking at, well, what's coming up on all four bodies, because that is what has helped me go, how can I move forward for my highest and best? Is the baggage that I'm experiencing, because I have this training and I've been going through the process and I do take my clients through it, is where is this baggage showing up? And then is it showing up in other areas of life? So
Mm.
when I was going through my physical health breakthrough, a lot of stuff with my family was coming up. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting that love around my family would have anything to do with my physical body and my physical health, but it does. Everything intertwines. And when I started going through my own family journey with my fear of becoming a parent and
Mm.
fear of becoming my parents in ways that I didn't want to be, but fear of becoming my
Right.
parents in the ways I did want them to be, did want to be, like fear that I wouldn't live up to that. Uh,
Right.
so there was many layers within family and I was having conflicts within family. So finding out what the conflicts internally, because here's the thing, my reality of a conflict and my family's reality of a conflict are so different, but we could be experiencing the exact same thing.
Mhm.
And when it came down to going through my own journey, because I my family couldn't go through the journey for me,
Right.
and I couldn't ask them to go through anything either. All I can do is own up to myself and what I can do.
Yeah.
And when I looked at, well, my energy is being depleted. I'm having very negative thoughts about this person and myself. And I have a lot of emotions every time I talk to them. I think I need to do something about this.
Yeah.
And taking the reins and to go, I am the only one that can change in this situation. Let me clear out myself first so that I can go forward in a clear state and a clear mindset.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
there were boundaries that needed to be set, but I had emotions tied to those, and I had a lot of fear and anxiousness and guilt coming up with it too. Like, oh, this is my blood family. I feel guilty doing that. Um, I felt very angry about them that I had to, but that's the thing with boundaries. They
Mhm.
won't, no one will know your boundaries until you say it. And
Mhm.
you have to be able to say it. So there's
Yep.
many layers within the four bodies and how it can show up. But
Yeah.
overall, it's just your baggage can show up in all four bodies, and it gets louder if you don't take care of it.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. So much processing. I love that though. I think that's something that we see, like you were saying, like it shows up in so many different ways, and it's not until we like step back that we're realizing how much that it's affecting all aspects of our lives. Um, do you
And
feel like
unfortunately, it's when the louder it is, that's when we
yeah,
start paying attention
yeah,
versus when it's
absolutely.
a
When
whisper.
people literally can't get out of bed or wind up in the hospital or things like that, which is
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but
absolutely. I feel like it's not till those physical symptoms that a lot of people, like, really notice it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What do you so as you're working with parents, I'm assuming you're doing a lot of, like, work with them, like, first with them, and then helping them also teach to their kids so that they're, like, doing either both simultaneously or one after the other.
Mhm.
Um, but do you feel like everybody kinda goes through a similar process of figuring out how to do both of those things?
Yes, so the first step is always going through a breakthrough because
Right.
whatever baggage is in there, let's take care of it so that
Yeah.
any tool, any strategy can just be streamlined at that point. There isn't
Mhm.
something holding them back from it. So
Yeah.
I worked with a mom. Um, she had at the time, this was several years ago, but she had at the time a 14-year-old with autism and then a 12-year-old, 14 male, 12 female. And her baggage that came up in her breakthrough that we would had we not done this, we would have just gone down the rabbit hole of, like, bumping up against this baggage, and I wanted to
Yeah.
reframe that because her baggage that came up around her son poking her daughter all the time to the point where it would get physical altercations, mom would get involved, it was the sibling rivalry, but it got to a point where it became dangerous for for
Yeah.
themselves and the family, like, talking about it trickling down and getting louder, it was really
Yeah.
bad in that
Really
family.
loud. Yeah.
And what she came up with in the breakthrough, what was a huge factor for her, it wasn't the driving force, we got even deeper than this, but this was a big one for her and realization was that she parented her son to protect her daughter because she felt like
Mm.
she never got protection when she was a kid.
Wow.
And that actually created a distance between her son and her because she felt like she had to protect her daughter.
Mm.
And once she figured that out, she noticed she had a shield up with her son, that shield came down and she was able to create more like healthy conflict resolutions with her
Right.
son versus power struggles versus the listen to me. They were able to at the age you can start doing a lot more collaborative work. They were starting to be
Right.
able to do more collaborative solutions versus the power struggles. So it was a very big eye opening for that family
Yeah.
to navigate that time
Yeah.
and move
Sure.
forward in a way that was just a lot more clear. So once the baggage is cleared out, the process with my clients is we do some goal setting, and the goal setting is actually very extensive. It's not, let's create an end goal. It's,
Yeah.
we're going to create a goal about your beingness.
Mhm.
Who are you and who do you want to be in your life?
Okay.
Then we're going to create your aim, your North Star. What's your direction? And then from there, that's when we create an end goal of what is our focus in coaching to help you get to who you want to be, the things you want to do so that you can have this life that you want to have.
Mhm.
And we encompass your values, especially in family. And I have clients where we keep working together and instead of just working on family, sometimes we'll work on another area of life and family still becomes a big piece of it. And
Right.
like, for example, career might be a huge
Mhm.
piece for a family and there could be conflict between career and family. I know for
For
me,
sure.
I had conflict in my relationship and career for a very
Mhm.
long time. And once I resolved the conflict between the two areas of life, it became really easy to go, oh, I can still have a great relationship and I can have a great career at the same time. And it's
Yeah.
just a matter of what's the harmony. So over time, we may figure out your life values depending on how long I work with clients. But most of
Yeah.
the time, it comes down to just the parenting piece and navigating the time with the kids. And depending on the age after we worked with parents, we may start working with the teen or the kids, depending. So
Yeah.
I've gone as young as 8, depending
Mhm.
on their ability in understanding emotional intelligence and those kinds of conversations. But usually closer to teens are we're able
Yeah.
to have those in-depth conversations.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's there's a lot of value in being able to, like, notice that teens can have those conversations, and even some younger kids who have those skills of just, like, you can invite them into those conversations, and they can be a part of that too once your family is ready for that, which is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter at 2 is already labeling her
Yeah.
emotions because
Right,
that's what
because
we
you talk about it
do.
all the time, yeah.
We already do that, but I even noticed her and I told my husband this. I was like, "Have you noticed she says that I am this emotion?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We gotta start saying feel more because she isn't an
Yeah.
emotion. She may feel that emotion." And
Mhm.
it's even just catching stuff like so small, but
Yeah.
this younger age range from 0 to 3, 7-ish, those are the programming years. Those are the years where
Yeah.
your child is developing their values, they're developing their beliefs about themselves, and it all gets
Mhm.
locked in at the unconscious in these ages. And then
Yeah.
everything after that is just affirming it or what may get trigger something over time within themselves through development. So they won't have any type of you know school will target some type of career experience for them, but once they
Right.
get into their career, there may be certain things that come up that came from their childhood that had
Mm.
nothing to do at the time with career, but how as parents we might talk about money in front of
Yeah.
our kids, how we talk about our own careers. Are we passionate? Or, for me, passion's a huge one. So
Yeah.
that's my driving force. And I come from that. But and when I'm working with the family, their driving force for their career, is their baggage and their values when it comes to
Mm.
aspects of different areas of life, because that does happen. And when you
Yeah.
start in this journey, you will have baggage in your values.
Right, right.
And it's totally normal to experience that. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of, are you ready to take that step towards transformation or not at this time?
Mhm. Do you feel like there's, like, always continual work about going through, like, even if you feel like you've gotten through, all of that stuff to get to this step that you're in, does
Yes.
more stuff continue to come, like, it's a continual journey, right? Like, it's not a one and done.
No, it's a practice. It keeps going. Dr. Matt James, who I learned from in
Yeah,
empowerment, I love what he said when he first explained going down a personal growth path.
yeah,
When he started working in his area of family, it was resolving his relationship with his father. His mom and that family. And then the
yeah.
second he became a dad, and he was like, I had worked on it and my dad and I were good. But the second he became a dad, all this other baggage came up. And he's like, I
Mm,
thought I resolved all of this.
yeah,
But a new experience can trigger and go to the subconscious, because our subconscious stores memories to keep us safe.
right.
And it comes up, or it brings up the memories for resolution, for a reason.
Mhm.
So if memories keep coming up, it's coming up for a reason. There's symbolism that's coming up for you, or the emotions are coming up because it's time to take care of it. It's a time to
Right.
celebrate that they're coming up. But it sucks in the moment. But
Yeah.
after it's done, you're like, I tackled it. And I love how he explained a certain thing can trigger new emotions. So when we go
Mhm.
through breakthroughs, I have clients calling me, "I have these emotions coming up." I'm like, "That's because you released all these other things. Now your
Yeah,
emotion, your of subconscious is going, here's something new to take care of." It's
yeah,
totally normal.
yeah, and I think, like, the thing that comes up for me as we're talking about this is, like, I think as a parent, even doing all of this work ourselves and passing as much stuff on to our kids as possible, like, they'll still have to do this work on their own, even if we do our best possible thing, like, there'll still be stuff that they'll interpret differently
Mhm.
or have to work through on their own of their values, like you were mentioning about, like, if it their career, like, whether or not you mean to, have something come up in a
Yeah,
certain way that it will come up for them eventually.
yeah. And they'll meanie make something and interpret it differently,
Yeah,
and then it gets stored in there, and that's totally normal. It's what I would encourage and what we encourage is, first, you have this skill set to go as the parent, okay, my kid is having this difficult time. Who's my resource to support them?
right.
Because sometimes you're going to be the resource as the parent, and sometimes you're going to want someone else to support them, especially on
For
a
sure.
personal growth journey. You definitely want someone else outside your
Mhm.
family dynamic. So
Yeah.
they even say, like, don't work within your family. Like, sometimes you might, so depending on the situation, but for the most part, like, if I have a family member that comes to me, "Hey, I wanna work on this," we outsource. That's I mean, in therapy, you have to do
Yeah.
that. You can't work with
Right.
your family. There is
Right.
a reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. What else as we're kind of like towards wrapping up our conversation, but we can still keep talking for a while. What else as we've been talking, like, do you feel like you wanted to share?
And we went down so many rabbit holes. I
Okay.
never know how conversations are gonna go. It's just it's always what's going on in my own world with my
Right.
clients, and then, what might someone else need to hear or gather
Yeah.
from this. Just overall, I always like reminding parents that we're doing the best we can with the resources we have at the time,
Yep.
no matter what. Even if you're like, today was a really crummy day. Okay, today was that day. You did your best with what you had available for this day.
Yeah.
Moving forward, you're also going to keep doing your best and
Mhm.
just keep tapping into your resources. What are the resources you have available? And tap into them. Like, don't be afraid to tap into them, because
Right.
sometimes you may feel like, "Oh, I don't wanna burden them with my stuff." We
Mhm.
all have our own stuff going on. Like,
Yeah.
everybody has their stuff, and there's always someone you can reach out to for certain things. Like, I know who I can reach out to for certain things, and that's I go to them. I make sure I go
Yeah.
to them, and I've been told by them, "I'm so glad you came to me. Thank you." And had I let the "Oh, they're busy," or, "Oh, my stuff isn't as important as their stuff." No, people will be grateful that you came to them. People
Mhm.
feel good when they are wanted, but also on the other end is, do you have that support system in place, whether it's a person or a book maybe, or a podcast like this one? What are your resources you can tap into to guide you and support you through the moment you're in or the journey you're in? It could be a playlist.
Mhm.
That could be a resource, listening to certain music. My friend recommended postpartum for me to create a postpartum playlist of something. So I was like, huh, a postpartum playlist. Let me think about that. And so I created one where in the beginning it gets me in my feels more. And then I scaffold songs to help me get out of that feeling, of whatever feeling it is,
Mm.
which is usually a low feeling to a high feeling, whatever that is for
Nice.
me. And that was something I just picked up on my own from what the recommendation was, as a playlist.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was gonna ask if there's other as you started sharing a bunch of them, but what other resources, like, could people tap into other than, like, other outside support, like, physically of people? Is there
Yeah.
anything else you can think of?
Let me think if there's something else. While I'm in my own journey, I
Yeah.
definitely go into meditation. I go into my
Yep.
books. I go into journaling within myself, and just remembering only you can advocate for yourself.
Mhm.
Only you can advocate for your kids as well.
Yeah.
So being the voice, like right now, I am a huge voice for my kids, and there's certain things that are coming up in my own personal life that I'm like, this is a really hard experience to
Yeah.
voice for myself and voice for my
Mhm.
kids. But if I don't do it, no one will.
Mhm.
And it's more empowering to go, this is okay
Yeah.
to voice. It's okay to say, I feel upset about this information or this experience.
Yeah.
And it's more empowering to let it out than to hold it in.
Mhm.
And then to call on the people or go into, my own nook and cranny or journaling experience and meditation. Um, it's okay to do all of that. And it's
Yeah.
okay to tell your kids, I'm having a hard time right now.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
makes you
that's
human.
huge.
It
It
makes
does.
you your kids will learn from it too.
Absolutely. I think one of the things like I process emotion through crying, which has taken me a while to realize like that's A what I do and B that it's okay. And I like even earlier today there's some stuff going on in our personal life that I like they were wondering what was going on and I just started crying about it and I'm like this is okay like this is good and I was able to like talk through it and they saw like the whole conversation and I think like that's such value of being able to both, like, let them see emotion and also then, like, just let them know that it's a safe place to be in both sides of that.
You brought up a good point of see the resolution of the
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah.
That's key to it as well,
Right.
because there's times where you may, as a parent, have a negative emotion come up, and I use negative in a positive way too. It just
Right.
an emotion is coming up,
A big emotion.
and
Yeah.
does your kid see you come to the other side of it? And if they don't, do you
Mhm.
talk to them about it?
Yeah.
Because they may see you in the middle of it and then they go off and do something else, but they didn't process how you got out of it or
Right.
necessarily have that experience of how you got out of that. With kids, it comes with co-regulating at this young age. As they get
Mhm.
older, they're going to learn either to internalize or externalize, depending on their processing, how they choose to process the information, and then
Yeah.
from there they can move forward. So, are
Mhm.
you providing tools for them to internalize in a way? So, if they're a journaler, if they're a reader, if they're able to do it an internal way, but also have a way of doing it externally, because both are valuable and having that
Yeah.
experience, but you have to model it, whether it's showing them physically or explaining it to them over time
Mhm. Yeah.
and then giving them those tools.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really helpful for sure. If people are listening and they're saying like, "This is absolutely I need this type of support," how can they find you and work with you all?
We have a website, myintrospectivesolution.com. And we are also on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So feel free to DM us there if that's more in your
Nice.
wheelhouse.
Perfect. Sounds good. And I think you have a free resource that we're gonna put in the show notes,
Yes,
to
it's a five essentials for navigating parental stress.
awesome. Great. That's awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to close out with, or you feeling good?
I feel great. Thank you so much for, having me as well. And for you listeners, just keep going down your journey. Know wherever you're at, you're on the right path. You're here right now listening to this. So you're in the right place too.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Cyclical Doula podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much if you shared it with a friend or posted it on Instagram and tagged me at Cyclical Doula. If you've got a question you'd love to hear answered on the show, head over to emma.com/podcast to submit it. And don't forget, leaving a quick review really helps this podcast reach more people. Plus, if you upload a screenshot of your review on my website, I'll send you a special surprise as a thank you. You'll find all the details in the show notes about this show today, and I really appreciate you being here and listening in. I'll see you next time.
Welcome to the space where cycles breathe, where the real raw life of a mama leads. From motherhood's highs to charting the low, your body's story is the star of the show. Matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical doula sound, where body wisdom is always found. Matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical doula sound, where body wisdom is always found.
Just a disclaimer and a reminder that any guests on the show are views of their own and not necessarily views of Emma LLC or Emma Goff herself. Thanks so much.